mental motto is that at the end of my life, I don't want to have any fuel left in my tank. So hell yeah, I'm gonna get regularly tired. I roll over and go back to sleep knowing that I am living the life I choose, and being really tired at times is also the result of living a fully fulfilled life. As I read these words this morning, it definitely represented, I feel like, what we're starting here today. The leadership team may feel a little tired, especially Matt, who's been putting all of this amazing project together in this beautiful building, how it's turned out. Walking into this new office and this space, seeing the vision come to life, it reminded me that this is what living to our fullest actually looks like. Today marks a new chapter for Keller Williams of Central PA, one definitely still in progress, but it's a place built with intention, collaboration, and purpose. And I've never been more grateful to be in time. So thank you all so much for being here today. And you know, the TCPA compliance stuff. We all do that, right? All right. Typical agenda, who we are, we're going to do some hugs and kisses, core value awards, welcomes. We have a cool bulletproof your transaction mini panel that's going to happen in the middle. We'll go over some quick upcoming events, a quick tech update, and then we're going to have a top agent panel to help us blaze the trail in Q4 so we can start off Q1 with a bang. So first, we want to make sure we welcome all of our Zoom guests. They're right over here. Hello. We're grateful that you can be online if you can't make it in person, so thank you. Our core focus, why are we here? We are here to empower people to reach their goals and dreams. And look at this collaborative community, guys. Like, we freaking built this /training program. So with that, who wants to start off with some hugs and kisses? Not all at once now. Matt.
I'm since showed up here every day for I don't know how many weeks and just did stuff without being asked. I mean, there's just so much coordination, furniture creation. I think down with vendors when nobody else was around, and we would not be ready for this without.
Yeah, and please you get thorough with that class. Most of the furniture came like Peter's style and a flat pieces. And Chris and Caleb, Faith and Matt, and I think a couple of volunteers like put together all of this furniture, and that's
yeah, this was like a 20s, like kind of like moving when you're in your 20s, and it's like beer and pizza. It
was definitely
and we had actual movers.
Yeah.
One for Adrian, just for her support.
My pleasure. Yes.
One for Caleb, because he's like the man. And even before we, leave at 6 a.m. or leaving after everybody, as soon as I call him, he always answers and he gets the other. And he was for Brittany for a one-on-one for getting back around. So appreciate you.
There's some red. Yes.
My name's Nathan. I'm new to Keller Williams. I just want to say thank you to everybody for giving me a warm welcome. Is Gwen here?
Oh, Gwen is in the house.
Gwen is here.
Oh,
Gwen is here.
She makes the Carlisle office more homey. I like to chat with her. She also likes to make sure I'm paid and try and Thanks, Gwen.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I'm gonna give, Brad, we wrapped up our first round of never split the scripts and role play. And he put a ton of work into that. He always got prepared with bullet points that he wanted to make sure that we got out of each chapter. He didn't just show up and you know, he showed up with a plan and intention, so I'm very grateful.
It worked out good. I liked it, and I think everybody else did. So I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Thank you.
Is Madison here?
He was-
Thanks, Ian.
Yeah.
Madison for keeping me involved in the real estate worlds.
And then, I know it might be hard to find everybody, but just thank you to everybody that came out to ALC Clinic. It was our largest group ever attending clinic, and I just think we had a great conversation. I had FOMO not being able to be on the bus ride. I heard there was a great conversation there too, and that's just where the power of collaboration really is important, because it helps us lead the market side better. So thank you.
Yeah, if Judah was here, I'd give him a kiss for driving us to Philly for the event. And putting up with me when I gave him the wrong directions, getting out of Philly. So thank you.
I did the same. I made a wrong turn. Yes.
We made a
I
wrong
was really proud of myself. I was like, yes, I did it. And then 2 minutes later, I was like, wrong turn. City driving is not for me. All right, awesome. Core value agents of the. Are you ready?
We are.
Hello. Oz walked in. Where's Mr. Carlisle? Yeah. Yep, come on up now.
Hey, Monica.
Give this to her. And give us a little insight as to why you chose her.
I know, you didn't have to either, so.
Oh my gosh.
I chose Monica because I have a past client who was dealing with moving her healthcare practice to a different commercial location where she was gonna be leasing. It was just outside of my knowledge base, and I really knew that I needed to put somebody else in her path who would be able to help her better. I reached out to Monica, and without hesitation or question, I'll do it. Yep, gotcha. I'll take care of it. My client got back to me and said she was so helpful, and I really feel like I'm on the right path. So again, talking about the power of collaboration, it was really wonderful to know that she was good. Yes, I appreciate you.
Thank you for reaching out. That's so sweet.
And Anthony,
Nominating a town, he can be with us today. But he just shared how you are always willing to go above and beyond, always contributing. Mr. Carlisle here in the house. And now we get to welcome some new to KWCPA agents. So these are folks who joined us in September. So if you joined us after September, next month is your time to shine. Wait, is this October, not September? Did we forget to change this?
probably.
Yeah, excuses for moving.
Yeah.
We had this thing called a big move that we had last week, but our agents who joined us recently, so if it's your first time in a team meeting, could you just stand up and give everybody a wave? Yeah. I'm happy to announce that Nathan did recently join us, and he's another Chambersburgian. So we just keep like scooping them up, which is amazing. So it's good to have another Franklin County agent in our midst.
Great to be here.
Yeah. Thanks for making this ride. We also want to welcome, if you haven't met her yet, Miss Nicole, a new title settlement processor. I just find words for original abstracts. Nicole on the back. Nicole, now to your speech. And then congratulations to our growth partners. So Drew Richmond, Tamila Wormsley, and Rebecca Lee.
Look at Rebecca.
Growing those profit share trees. And then look who's on the big
Oh.
screen. Congratulations.
I'll bring it right to, I'll hand deliver it to you. Congrats on that.
Appreciate it.
Good job.
Is it Mike or is it Ted? We should be. congratulating.
That's, Teddy's done all the marketing, so. Teddy goes to.
Maybe he could teach a class.
Branding 101.
He's going to see his big sister on Friday, so he's excited about that.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Y'all broke more records. So October was our highest October ever. So major round of applause to all of you and your hard work. Look at those numbers. And now to see how you compare it to the rest of Bright MLS. Holy Hannah. So KW is in red, naturally. Closed units, you guys are up 28.3%, while the rest of Bright MLS is down 3.4%. I'm going to jump to listings taken, which we put a huge emphasis on this year because we know that listings make babies and make everything else easier. 63%, and the rest of Bright MLS is down 7.7. But I'm just curious, why do you think these numbers are happening? What do you think you are doing differently from the rest of Bright?
Working.
Yeah.
Working together. Working together. Can you give us a question? Yeah, our not so small group, Julie.
I think it's mindset, you know, as others are out there being fearful of the future, we're just plowing forward. You know, and all the training has kept our, you know, mindset that we're good, we're fine.
Yeah, this is the market we've been prepared.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
Bring it on.
Charge the storm.
Do we know how many of those transactions have closed this past month for Will side like Keller?
Where's our MCA? Ava?
We can get that over here.
That's a good stat to have. I like that.
What was the question?
How many of the closed transactions were dual sided, dual broker? So KW and KW. Yeah, that's a good stat. Anybody else? This is incredible, and it just proves that the systems, the training, the collaboration, the mindset, all these things work together in our ecosystem. The vendors that you partner with, all of those things matter, and you guys are just absolutely crushing it. We want to bring up our vendors. So while we are crushing it and outpacing the market, more deals, an increase in deals does tend to mean we might start to see an increase in terminations. We're also seeing an increase in terminations because buyers are getting towards the 5th year. There's a ton of reasons. But we want to help you bulletproof your transaction. So what I asked this team meeting, instead of our vendors standing up here and just kind of giving quick sales and rates, we need to help give them a little bit more business. That's why they're here. But they want to provide value. And so instead of a sales pitch, we're going to do a quick vendor panel to help you bulletproof your transactions. Right now, where we're seeing the top 3 causes of terminations right now in Keller Williams of Central PA. Number 1 is lending. So something happening in either the pre-approval or last minute issues that cause the financing to fall through. So that's the number 1 reason we're seeing transactions terminate. The number 2 is inspection. So unexpected issues are being discovered during the inspection phase that can often be an emotional deal breaker. So remember I said buyers are getting pickier. They're a little bit more scared right now because of uncertainty in the market. So they're kind of crutching on these inspections a little bit more, to then turn in the deal. So we're gonna get into that a little bit more. And then title, so unresolved encumbrances, hidden liens or other title defects that can halt. So what we're gonna do. to make this
Those are the
more-
top three?
Yeah,
Those are the top three?
top three reasons.
That's shocking.
We're not alone in this, so right now, and actually KW just posted a stat about this yesterday, so I do believe this is perfect timing. So nationally, we've seen about 15% of the deals are starting to fall through. Right now, PLS, they've been tracking their termination rate, they're at 11.5, so we're not quite as high as the national average, which I think is a good sign, but we are seeing it up. So we want to make sure that we just do what we can, what can we control on our end. Some things are outside of our control. But if there's things that we can do to fix it, why not be proactive? So I have a couple of questions to ask. And I asked Chris, do you think I could curse today? Because I really want to call them the behind the scenes badasses. So they see all the things behind all of these transactions. And so I think they're the best ones to ask. So question number one, this is going to be geared towards more A+ mortgage, maybe a little bit of precision because they see it. But given that lending is the #1 issue causing terminations, what do you think is the single most common gap? And how can our agents be more proactive in preventing that from happening?
So I think one of the things that I and Jeremy do on our files that I don't think a lot of especially national or online lenders do is I essentially will pre-underwrite a file for pre-approval. I'll make sure that I ask all the right questions. One thing that I have noticed is there are some lenders that don't ask how much money someone has to spend or wants to spend for down payment. So when they get under contract and then they get their first cost estimate, they're like, I don't have $15,000, I only have 10. And then everyone's like, well, how did that happen? Which I don't know. I always ask that question because it's the biggest thing for me. Yeah, it seems like an obvious question, how much money do you have? But it doesn't get asked. So doing my due diligence up front and making sure that you're working with a lender that does do their due diligence up front to make sure that those things don't slip through the cracks. Have experience with things I just recently saved a deal because a very large lender didn't understand how employment worked for a union employee. So things like that, making sure that we know what we're talking about and knowing that our pre-approvals are rock solid because we very rarely have a deal fall apart because of lending. It's usually inspections on our end. So
what are some occupations that if an agent is at a buyer consult and they hear, oh, and I know for me, it was always truck drivers when they were independent contractors as truck drivers. What are some occupations that should give them we should probably make sure that the lender digs into this a little bit further?
Yeah, unions for sure. Just because they're a little complicated and sometimes they don't really understand that there's guaranteed minimum salaries for union employees. So that can be a snag. Anyone that's working as a nurse or a PRN, they get shift differentials that are sometimes really tough to kind of calculate because of the way they show up on their pay stubs. Obviously, someone that's self-employed. I've seen recently people that work second or third shift in warehouses. They also have their pay broken out into a regular pay and then a shift differential, which can be a snag and underwriting. But anyone that's part-time or works variable hours, those also will need to be have additional questions and documentation up front.
What do you recommend? Well, actually, so there's a huge difference between a pre-qualification and pre-approval. We talked about this in medium group the other day. What advice can you give to the group to make sure that A, they know the difference, and B, they know which one that they're actually getting before they're writing offer and showing right?
So a pre-qualification is usually just a conversation and potentially a soft credit pull from the lender. They usually don't ask for a lot of documentation up front. They usually just get the bare minimum information and they say, yeah, you can afford this. You're technically not, you really shouldn't be writing an offer with the pre-qual because they didn't do a hard pull on their credit, they didn't do their due diligence. Pre-qualification is really the only thing that I would do. I don't really do pre-quals. I'll do like a soft credit inquiry if they're concerned about their credit score and they want to do some kind of like long-term remediation. But for the most part, I'm doing a hard credit inquiry, and that's what you can run through an underwriting system. And I always do that before I issue a pre-approval, and I don't think a lot of places do that. So that's mainly the difference is I already run my files through a pre-underwriting system to make sure that Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae will approve it before we even get to the pre-approval. So like that's one of the bigger differences.
And you know, keep in mind in the room, I know as a buyer's agent back in the day, I would get excited when somebody raised their hand and they're like, I want to buy a house. So we want to start showing them houses and I wanted to provide a ton of value. But think about the value that you can provide if you can help put a stopgap for the buyer before they get under contract and start spending money on appraisals and inspections to find out, oh crap, I can't buy this house. The heartbreak and emotional toll, I'd rather tell them up front where it still hurts. I mean, it still hurts to get denied, right? I've been there. My vacancy still follows me to this day. But I'd rather find out up front before I've invested time, energy, started to dream about, oh, I'm gonna put my Christmas tree in this corner, all those things. Then they can work with someone like Angie on, all right, well, I can't buy today. But what can I do? What can I work on for the next 6 months? So that way I get my credit or income or savings it back to where it needs to be to happen.
Can I say something just about the list side? So we recently had a bunch of transactions where sellers ended up owing money because they had no concept of what their history looked like, judgments, if their house was in foreclosure, things like that. So they entered into a contract to sell a house and owed $30,000-$40,000, and they're not able to go through with the transaction. So I think it's important for sellers to know their financial condition and what they might have to pay off too, because if it exceeds their proceeds, it's really tough to make the transaction go through as well.
Yeah, that shocks me. So yeah, make sure when you're at those listing appointments and you're going through that seller cost sheet, if you list your house at 400,000, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, do you know about what your payoff is going to be? Can you look at documents? Can you call your lender? So that way you know what those numbers, because that clearly affects what the net is going to be. Any questions from the room on kind of the lending aspects of it? Trying to pull up my other questions here. You can just shout them out. I'm not looking. We're looking on the seems how we're with Miss Meg for title. We are seeing more terminations because of title issues. And we're grateful that Original Abstract is attorney back so they can help navigate those issues. Shameless plug. But what are some things that we can do upfront as agents on both the buy side and the list side to help mitigate some of those issues upfront before going under contract?
Sure. So I actually made a checklist for certain types of transactions. I'm sharing it with Adrienne and she'll share it to the portal so you have access. But there's certain documents in an estate, in a power of attorney situation, in a trust, in an LLC or corporation that we're going to ask standard. So we make sure that person has the ability to sell or buy that. So for estates, obviously if there's a surviving spouse, I'm looking to get the deceased spouse death certificate because I have to make sure that the surviving spouse isn't trying to sell a house out from under somebody, their other spouse. You know, believe it or not. So the death certificate, I'm looking for a Department of Human Services lien search because I need to know that there's no other liens that need to be paid to the state or the federal government before, you know, closing. I need to know if inheritance taxes were paid or not because I'll have to escrow a certain amount to ensure that those are paid. So in an estate concept, also, if there's an attorney, just give me that estate attorney's contact information and I'll deal directly with that person to get that information. But if your client knows that they're going to be asked that information, they can start collecting it before, you know, they're even under contract. For trust, we'll need a copy of the trust to just make sure, again, that person has the ability legally to sell or buy the property. And an EIN is important too, because we will need to report that for to the IRS. So we need that number to do that. Same thing with powers of attorney. We need a clean copy of a power of attorney. We can't record a picture of it, right? Because we have to record it simultaneously with the deed and mortgage. Okay, so if we have, it's gotten rejected before, even when it's like slightly blurry on a copy, they're really particular about it. I mean, and rightfully so, it's a house sale, you want to make sure that person has the ability to do it. I will need the social security number of the principal, so that's the person who has someone serving as their POA. Because when they ask questions on documents, tax forms that we sign at closing, it's as if they were that person, not the POA, okay? And then finally, for LLCs and corporations, we're gonna be asking for your operating agreement. That makes sure that, again, you say you are, and you can sell or buy this property. And also, we're looking for a certificate of organization, Department of State. That's important because anybody can enter into an operating agreement and say, I'm an LLC, but if they don't take those extra steps to become an official LLC or corporation with the state, that's a problem then. So we'll be asking for that document as well as their EIN. So this checklist, again, we'll be sharing with Adrian, so it will be available to all of you just to use as a tool when you're meeting with your clients. Because on our end, it really helps when we can get those documents quickly. The title search comes back and I already can clear title on that death certificate they're requesting on that other steps. So it expedites the process.
We'll make sure it's in your need to know. Definitely read through it. If at any time you're sitting with a client, especially for me, it would be, well, I guess both sides, but if you're at the listing table, personally, I wouldn't put the house on the market until I have those required documents, because if they can't find it, I've been there where like, I know it's somewhere in grandma's filing cabinet in the attic. Like, get the document up front. And if you aren't sure, you can send it to Meg. Hey, would this qualify? Is this the right document? You're not an attorney, Meg is an attorney. Let her give you that guidance before you even list it. I've personally been in a transaction where we got under contract. I represented the buyer. It was an estate. They already paid for inspections and appraisal, and then it came back that we couldn't close because the seller didn't have the correct documentation and they couldn't come up with it in the timeline, and the buyer was on a short timeline. So I've seen it personally, so that's maybe why I'm a little bit more cautious, but be proactive. It's worth the wait up front than having to scramble when you're under contract.
And just one other thing about powers of attorney too. We have to be really careful about using them. They're not just like a convenience mechanism. It is really if your person is incapacitated that we use a power of attorney in those circumstances, just because that's the purpose of it. It's not just because, so-and-so doesn't want to come up here, their POA is going to sign for them, things like that. That's why we have agent POAs too.
No, I appreciate that. And then this one's for all three of you. You know, our agents are the front line managing client emotions and setting expectations. What do you recommend that they can do up front to help avoid issues by the time that it gets to your table?
Documents. Documents is probably the biggest thing. What we see, I mean, we don't mind because it keeps us employed, but we see a lot of missing documents in a lot of files, especially files that like maybe something about POAs, if you're trying to buy something with the business. So LLC docs, documents that, you know, some people know you need, but then like, you know, they don't have the conversation with their buyer upfront or their seller upfront. Hey, you need these documents because X, Y, and Z. I know everyone hates the bright document. Like, I get it. It's not sexy. It doesn't really belong, but it is required for compliance. And that's one of the biggest ones that's missed. Another one that's missed is the wire fraud one. Wire fraud right now should be like one of the first ones signed outside of your buyer agency and your consumer notice, because right now we're getting hit with, you know, cyber attacks all the time. And so people are coming after your information and you want to make sure that you don't have liability on that information. So that's probably the biggest thing. And I think something that can help agents outside of just being prepared is like connections. So one of the things that we look at ourselves like as a project manager of a transaction, we have the resources, we have the connections. So I invited Kristen, who's in the back, and Heather, because Kristen had a listing that was about to fall apart. And then where's she at? Where'd you go? I saw you. There's Obaya.
I'm hiding.
No. Where's Obaya?
She's on the floor.
Obaya is on the floor. So Obaya, I think she talked to Kristen. They talked about ARV. It looked like a great investment. And then Heather Carlino, if you don't know her, you should probably get to know her because she might be able to save yourself. Julie put those two in contact with each other. Heather had an investor, or did you buy it for yourself? You bought it. So she bought it for herself. It was a very, very financially rewarding transaction for Heather because she's going to turn that into something great. And the ARV was through the roof. So we have the connections, and not just here, in other market centers across Pennsylvania and soon Delaware, Maryland, and Jersey.
I love that. I would say, from my perspective, before you terminate, call Scott. Right, if your broker, he's here to help you. If things start to, if they're heading towards termination, don't let it blow up. Call him. And then also, if it is related to one of our 3 vendors, even if you're not using them this time, just give them a shout. Our ecosystem is here to help you. And I would just say that when you've got a seller who wants to sell and a buyer who wants to buy, do everything that we can to make that happen. Have we troubleshooted all the potential possibilities to make this deal come together? So for me, it's call Scott and then call your people connections and see, is there something that we didn't think of that we can do to save it? I think from our seat, what we're seeing, and sometimes it's just the agent on the other side maybe isn't as experienced or trained. They just think that's the only solution. It's gonna be an easy button. And, oh, well, I guess we're terminating. Like, there's a lot of times there's a way that we can save people. Any questions from the room? This was really helpful. Thank you. Any questions? Dead silence, so we bring that energy down. Talk about like the most not boring, but like the worst that are nightmares, right? Deals terminating. So, well, thank you all. Give a round of applause to our. Right, we need to like stretch.
It's the first thing.
It's the first band. All right, so now something more exciting. We have a new benefit for KW agents. It is a KW exclusive benefit. So meaning other real estate agents and other brokerages are not allowed to be a part of Tectonic Health. And what is Tectonic Health? Tectonic Health is a personal health concierge. And they are for $50 a month. You can do telemedicine. If you have to get blood work, they can come to you and do your blood draw. They can come to you if you need to have like some vitals checked. You don't have to go into the sick-filled waiting room with all the other people with the flu when you're just there for something totally different. You can be in your home, you could be at Keller Williams and Central VA, you could be wherever and we will come to you. I like to test drive things before we commit it. So one weekend, my 12-year-old who has asthma started to have some pretty major symptoms. And that my first thought was I might have to take her to the emergency room, which again is the last place that I want to take her because what else am I going to expose her to once we get there? Remember that Matt had us get Tectonic Health for the leadership team to test drive it. I was able to get on a telehealth call video within minutes. I was able to give them all of her vitals. They said, Brittany, calm down. She has a fever. She's going to be fine. But here's the things that I want you to do. And then my anxiety calmed down. And then all weekend, they texted me. Like, how is she doing? Have her symptoms improving? Tell me her fever now. And they kept me calm so I could just focus on getting her better without the 6-hour wait in the emergency room. All of that for $50 a month. If I had taken her even to her pediatrician, our copay is more than that. I don't even want to know how much it would have cost if I took her to the emergency room. But I had no additional costs outside that $50. So if getting you exclusive, Matt, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, it's not just telehealth. So again, they'll come to you if they can't diagnose it over the phone or through the screen. They will come to you within an hour radius of this location. So I had a family member who was at a campground in Perry County, and they said, yeah, we can be there now. And it really kind of alleviates the need for urgent care in a lot of cases. And it also, one of the things I love about it for my family is one of Katie's reasons for not going to urgent care is I got to figure out what to do with Olivia because I'm not bringing her along.
Right.
And a lot of times she would just either forego getting her own treatment. And so in this case, the treatment will come to her, again, with no copay, no deductible. So.
And it's $50 a month for your whole family.
So the whole house.
Your whole household. Yeah. So, yeah, $50 covers you and anything.
They will prescribe. And actually, if they'll have a go bag of generics. If what you need is in the go bag, they'll hand it to you before they leave. If not, they'll call them the script.
And they will call them the script out of state. I forgot a prescription when we went to Austin, and I was like, oh shit. And I texted them. I did it all through text. And like within an hour, they had my refill at the CVS in Austin, Texas for me to pick up. Like it was, I was almost like, is this all legal? Like it was too good to be true. So
You all should have a brochure.
I was saying,
There are brochures, and if you don't have one yet, you want it.
who do they email if they want to take advantage of this new ticket of exclusive benefits?
You will email it over to Gwen, it's finance, NC652@kw.com. We'll get more info out on the person on a mass day if you're looking to join Economic Health. A lot of the questions that there are just general information. They'll set you up with the portal, and in that portal, you'll be to add the family members and people that you'd like in there. So we'll just be asking for some general info if you're interested in it. Let us know. We have that info on hand. So if you just tell us, hey, I don't want to join, we can add it to the list. And that will repeat and send out the info you need with your email address. Please provide an email address so I can look at. Just
Yeah, don't use your birth.
Yeah.
It's like you know what you actually use.
It will contact these sort of stuff. Maybe it's one of the, but it's very straightforward, and then the portal is where you'll add in the additional numbers.
We have no access to your portal. All of that is through Tectonic. The only portion that we control is the billing. Just to make that very clear, we bill you and then we pay one monthly bill then to Tectonic.
And this can be used as a supplement to a current.
Yeah, this
It
is
does
not
not-
insurance.
Yeah,
This
it does
is not
not replace
insurance. They do not bill your insurance. Insurance is not involved in this at all. This is parallel to, it's an additional service if you choose to enroll in it. It's a convenience. But yeah, you still need to have insurance for when they diagnose something that can't be cured with a simple generic.
When you do need to go to the.
Yeah, so the example they always use is this also includes mobile X-ray, mobile ultrasound. If they come to you and realize that you do have a shattered ankle and you need to go to OIP, once you go to OIP, your insurance needs to step in.
It does cover mental health services as well.
You get a precision human, or do you get kind of?
You get whoever's on call. Okay. Yeah, so there's several nurse practitioners on call, and whoever's on call that day. It's lucky to draw. I've always had a great experience so far. I use it a lot for my kids. Because they're sick all the time. And it's made it a lot easier, so why not? All right, some quick upcoming events. Real quick, 12 days of holiday cheer. It's a fan favorite that will start December 8th and will go through December 23rd. It says details coming soon. Do you have any hints of any special?
Well, I will say that the first event, December 8th, is going to be the decorate your door. Your office door. If you don't have an office here and you want to decorate your door, we would happily give you one of the pavilion that we have that need decorated. And so we're looking for, I mean, we have a lot of agents in this building now. We're looking for a lot of participation. There's going to be fun prizes. We'll have some spirit days with, you know, wear your festive attires and that sort of thing. So we're excited about this.
And then next women's mastermind is January 14th. This year's theme is Rise, Radiant, and Rooted. So we have 3 key segments. One is kind of talking about how to burn the ships and work yourself towards financial independence. The reason why that's a big purpose of mine is because I have come across, I was that woman who, you know, you get married and you think happily ever after. You never get married. I don't think you get married. So I knew this might be a divorce. It's never the purpose. But for me, it's my first marriage and then ended. And what I realized was I couldn't financially support myself and my kids. So number one, I do not want any other human to experience that. Number two, sometimes it's not as detrimental as a divorce, but sometimes our spouses get sick. Things happen and they can no longer work. So how as women can we make sure that we are financially set up so that way when the unexpected happens, we can be prepared and we're not having to be homeless. We're not having to, I mean, I know there's agents in this room that have come across that where women have had to sell their homes when a spouse dies. So that's Rise. Radiant is around women's health, a highly requested topic, and sorry men, but perimenopause. So if you have questions about that, you definitely need to be in the room. And then number 3 is about leading with alignment and your purpose and getting really clear on what does that mean for you. Dr. Amber Sessom's podcast with Erica Rawls was the one that re-sparked my fire to make sure that we host this event. So for the men in the room, I want you to think about who's a woman that you know that needs to be in that room and hear any of those messages. So I know you might feel like, oh, this isn't for me. I was getting that because he's like, I'm out of here. But you all have a special woman in your life. Could this be an event that could help her get in alignment and fill her cup so that she can become the best version of herself? I also have a couple of agents who are using this as a micro VIP client event. You can buy tables of 8. It saves you about $100 on the tickets if you want to make it a micro event for business leaders in your life. But it's a passion project of mine. Grateful that KW allows me to host it. It is back at the Willows at Asheville Mansion because of popular demand. And the dress code is the outfit that you never got to wear. So ladies, that outfit you've been eyeing up at your favorite boutique and you're like, oh, where would I wear it? Here. You'll wear it here. I think that's all I got for Women's Mastermind.
And it's not real estate. You don't have to be a real estate agent to know.
We don't talk about real estate. The only part that I will bring up about real estate is the fact that that is the tool I personally used to come back from bankruptcy and divorce. But there's other tools that you could use. But other than that, we do not talk about your sales business in any way, shape, or form.
Everyone got a flyer. There was a QR code, and for this meeting, there was a special promo code. If people want to use that promo code.
Yeah, holiday party, the lodge at Liberty Forge. It's back. Yes, we're bringing back the holiday party. Angie, maybe Michael, any details we need to know? What's the dress code for that?
Dress code is festive chic.
Everyone interpret that.
I would say everyone interpret that. I do want to let everyone know that we are very close to maxing out on tickets, so if you have not made a reservation, you probably are running up.
Yeah, this is our highest RSVP holiday event yet, so we're very excited. In December, we do have some great classes coming up. Chris Quintana is going to do a How I Grew from Discipline to Deals, a veteran's guide to real estate success. Also, we're going to do Level Up with Leverage, a practical guide to using Keys Please. Remember last team meeting, everybody was like, Keys Please, how do we use it, all the things. Come to that so that way you can learn how to utilize that great tool. team meeting. Our theme is going to be finishing strong, the 3 L's. It's actually going to be mini mastermind. So we're going to group you all together, lead you through questions. We're going to collaborate together right in the room. The 16th, getting inspection ready, setting expectations that protect your clients. The wonderful Julie Hess, Kelly Crothers, and Shannon Foster will be leading us through that. And then Wealth Group, instead of posting it on Wednesdays, one Wednesday month, we're pushing it to an Education Tuesday day to reduce the amount of travel some of you have to do. So we'll have our Wealth Building Tuesday on December 16th. I was hoping my potential speaker would be in the room, but he is not. Stay tuned. We are closed Christmas Day. And Matt hasn't heard this yet, but we are also closed the day after Christmas. Decisions BG made. It's not the rumor now. He still doesn't know. He still doesn't know. Christmas Eve, we will be here, and New Year's Eve, we will be here. We typically end up shutting down around noon because it is a deserted island. And so instead of paying our hourly staff to sit here, we send them out to meet with their families. And there it is again.
It is worth noting that we are also closed Black Friday.
Yes.
That's not on the calendar.
All right. Are we ready? Look at this ground. Look at this. That's incredible. You just coming up here. You're like, no, I think I can. Okay.
Come on up, participants. I am going to have to use the mic just to make sure that our Zoom people.
Oh, yeah.
The audio.
Yes,
Can I ask one thing? What's the cost starting now through December 20th, but we have a box that's on there.
I'm tight. Don't say yet. Go wait. I'm done.
Do
Yes. All right, everybody smile pretty.
do it.
We got to capture this moment, guys. Like for real. All right, I think I got it. Thank you. All right, so per usual, I have some suggested questions. These are guidelines. So the whole goal is to let the natural conversation take us to where we need to go. If you have further questions, please ask. I want it to be collaborative, natural, and I want to make sure that each of you walk away with at least one tactic that you can implement tomorrow. So that's always the goal. We don't do edutainment. We want you to be educated and then help you grow your business. So first, thank all of you for being here today. Secondly, I owe them a huge apology because I'm really on top of it, and I didn't send them their panel questions until late last night, so I apologize. We will be back on track after this week and the calmness of the mood. But the goal is, how are we securing business and pipeline in Q4 so that way we're not all crying January? I may sound dramatic, but guys, as a leadership team, the worst season for us as leaders is January and February. The panic is real. When agents are coming to us going, I don't know why I don't have business. And I say, well, what did you do in November and December? And they're like, well, I traveled here and then I took some time off and I baked cookies. And, you know, I was resting. And I'm like, well, that's why you made a choice. So we're trying to be proactive and helping prepare you. We can do a good combination of both. And I think we have a great panel that's going to help lead us through that. So question number one, and in any order, what activities are you focusing on right now to help build your business and pipeline for that Q1 in 2026?
Is the mic on?
Okay, so the mic, if so, our Zoom room.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
It just makes it easier to pass.
I can take that. So what I think is important now, and I know I've mentioned this before, fourth quarter is all about planting the seeds. It's having the conversations. It's building what I call my potential pipeline. So in my potentials, people who may be buying or selling in the future, they're in one category. Those are the people that I'm focusing on now. Having those conversations, going to as many networking events as I can, and just making the calls. What are your future plans for real estate? Whether it's next year, whether it's 2027 or 28 or 29. Building the pipeline for the furthest out you can is going to help you as, plans change for people. Maybe that 2029 person just moved up to 2026. So right now, it was all about the conversations that I'm having and just building that potential pipeline where somebody held that as a potential pipeline. So I make sure that's full. The fullest it should be is in the fourth quarter so that I can move those potentials to actives in the first and the second quarter. So it's conversation that just simply asking the question in your own way, in your own comfortable way. What you may not be looking to buy or sell now, but what are your future plans for real estate? Is it involved buying an investment property? Is it buying a beach house? Downsizing? It's just asking the questions.
And I'm gonna, if it's okay, I'm gonna stick with you for just a second, Michelle, because the other thing that you do, so I think it's to make those conversations easier, is you also double down on your events.
I do. So we don't see events. So we have our largest event is coming up next Tuesday. It's always the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. And we make sure that all of when the invitations go out, the follow-up call goes. That's obviously asking. We have about 140 people now coming as of right now next Tuesday. So that creates conversation, that creates phone calls, that creates potential referrals. So that is our biggest one. And then we do as many lunches, having dinner with clients. And like I said, how many holiday parties happen, networking events. We would just try to make sure we would hit as many as we can, even if it's just for a few minutes, just to stop in and say hi, but we're still connecting with a few people.
Thank you. So, St. John, I know you're ready.
Thanks, Brittany. No, I was just going to say, just to piggyback off of what Michelle said, that, this time of year I think is so great because it's just a fun time. Everyone is so excited. The holidays are around the corner. In addition to Fall Blast, which the brokerage just put together, that's a great opportunity to reach out to past clients or just your SOI people and one of the things that I hear that can be challenging for people is I don't want to call and just ask for something. That's like really hard to get over in your head. So one of the things that I try and remind myself is just to come from contribution and around these giveaways. And that's an easy come from contribution, but also as the seasons change, hey, do you need anything around the house? Do you need an HVAC technician? Do you need someone to help with fall cleanup? So just think of the things in your home ownership journey that relate to what other people could be needing. And then you can be a home ownership resource for those people. And then the conversation typically will then just gradually progress into, well, how is the market and what's going on and what do you think is happening? And that usually is a good segue to get into what their plans are, what they're thinking about doing. And the one thing that I try and remember the most is just coming from contribution in these calls. And it makes it feel a lot more natural for me because I don't want to be, we're selling things. Of course, we're trying to help people with their dreams. But if you can be a resource, if you can be Mr. Carlisle or be Mr. Referral, like all those things just help you build that spot in their brain that they will then naturally have to come to you. You just don't follow.
I just want to dig into that for just a second. I'm sorry, but you've got the vibes. You're on the hot seat.
Yeah.
One is, your team has a nonprofit. But anybody could use this tool with any nonprofit that they just love to support. Can you tell us a little bit about the nonprofit and how you can actually make using care calls as a way to provide contribution?
Yeah, of course, that's great. So yeah, one of the main parts of our team that we've developed over the years, and if Dave or Drew were here, they would tell you it literally started with just like giving a $50 bill and saying, how can we help someone in the community? And since then, it's evolved into a little bit of every sale. A portion of every sale, I don't want to call it little or big, but a portion of every sale goes into something. It's a fund that allows people in our community that have random or urgent needs to have some sort of financial assistance given to them in a timely manner. So throughout the year, we'll make these care calls. And it's a way for us to call, again, our database, the people that we love, and give them an opportunity to give this gift. So who do you know in the community that's struggling right now? And, you love to hear the answer that, everyone is great. And that's fantastic, but oftentimes you're able to get into real conversations with people who are struggling. Just right down the road, it's hard to believe some of the stories that are shared in our meetings of people that are just challenged by life, whether it's a bill, leaving in a hard relationship, need to put a fence up to keep our kid, like. It's amazing just what's happening in your own like backyard. But that's just a great way to connect, and it's bigger than real estate. You know, it gives someone the opportunity to really think about the people that they love and help them in a hard time, which just feels good all around. So. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
And again, that is another way to just connect and come from contribution.
Mr. Bennett.
I think for me, it's more about going deeper rather than wider, and kind of, I think the best skill you can have is kind of self-mastery and knowing what you're good at. Some coming from somebody where the old system I had is no system, but knowing that and being like, okay, what's something I can elaborate on, look for opportunities. So it's a lot of planning, but also I think lead gen often gets a bad rap because I think a lot of people think it's mainly looking for business as opposed to asking how you always got to get some motivation. It doesn't have to be like, hey, you're looking for a house next month. It could be just having a casual conversation, and that leads to something they say. Maybe a year from now, you find that particular property or you find their motivation for moving. So I think lead gen, in essence, is what we all need to be doing, but it looks different for everybody.
I love that. Karen?
Okay, so I have one more thing.
Please. Yeah, it's a good.
One thing whenever I started in this business that I was really bad at was tracking anything. And one of the things that really, as I joined the team that changed, you know, how that happened was they had just systems that I follow. But one of the powerful tools that comes from tracking appointments from the beginning of the year onwards, when you may be in a season where it feels a little bit light, you're able to go back to those appointments and follow up with the ones that maybe didn't transact or something came up, and you can revisit that list periodically throughout the year. And this is just a great time to get back to that, because as the holidays approach, it tends to you just feel like there's not as much going on. So it's a great time to revisit that list, check in. Hey, this was your goal back in March. I know that ABC came up. How's everything going? Is it still a goal of yours? Insert motivation by this, just have a conversation with someone. But tracking your data throughout the year will give you an awesome database at the end of the year to go back. So if you're not tracking data, it's as simple as a Google sheet, first name, last name, email, phone number, motivation. And that's very basic, but it's a good Rolodex of just data that you can reference over time.
And the other thing, because you track, so a common thing that we teach is block the first 2 hours of your day to lead gen. But truthfully, it often takes more than those 2 hours. Some days you knock your contact goal out in the first hour. You're like, man, I am on fire. I'm going home. But the one thing, and Ben and Terry, I know you work from home a lot, but I see Michelle and Sinjin, if they haven't hit their contact goal for the day and they don't have appointments, they're still in the office lead generating. And I Julie Hess, your number. If you haven't hit your number, you're like, where can I go? Coffee shop, Brett, I gotta hit my number, because you know what number you need to hit for contacts in order to get the appointments you need, in order to get the closings you need. So that's something I really want to emphasize too, is sometimes it's not just 2 hours a day. This market's getting tougher, so you can either let the market happen to you or for you. And you're gonna have to double down and really make sure you're hitting those contact goals, not just the time spent. I'm sorry.
No, that's
Get on my soapbox.
This is the perfect segue, because I think for me, it is about protecting the morning for lead gen. So if anybody else is like, I'm trying to build a bigger business, that action of just stop scheduling showings in the morning, stop scheduling closings in the morning, stop scheduling in the morning, like that, you're busy. If you're working in the morning, right? So I think just that act of protecting that morning time is how you kind of regain control, because your day just you get pushed around by all the appointments.
And the fires, right? The fires start to happen, the terminations that we don't want, that we just talked about, start to bubble up.
And there are great scripts you can set expectations for your clients for around I spend the mornings, Jeff Glover says, I spend the mornings looking for buyers for my listings and listings for my buyers. So I'll get back to you. If you call me, I'll get back to you after 11. Actually, I think this is 11 or 12, but whatever, you have your time. And
just going into it with the intentionality of, I'm setting a listing consult, I'm setting a buyer appointment, like, this is how you go into lead gen, like, who do I need to call today to set a listing appointment? And let that be your guide, like, you'll be way more intentional, instead of just saying, it's lead gen time, like, I do that sometimes, but when I'm like, where's my next listing coming from? I know where I need to go. And what St. said about going back on his previous appointments from the year, Brittany and I talked about that, like, if you just revisit those appointments, like, go back through your calendar, if you haven't tracked, go back to your calendar and look at, oh, Tuesday at 6, I was at Sim's house back in April, and contact them and see what's going on, because you might have even forgotten that they're a great prospect. So going back to your calendar if you don't track, but do track.
Yeah.
Yeah, just who have you not converted yet, but they were warm enough to want to meet with you or talk to you, like they were there. Well, what made them want to have that conversation with you? Just touch base. Just, hey, what's going on? You know, I should your plan. Maybe you were in this conversation. I love that.
Well, I also think quality versus quantity is also something that I don't think a lot of people focus on more, because be planted, be where your feet are at. Opportunities will happen, because you can only control a couple different things. How many people you talk to, the conversations you have. You can't affect their job. I mean, you got to find out what their motivation is and kind of get to the root of everything.
Yeah, if you don't have motivation, you really don't have to.
With it being holiday season, curious how you're able to double down on lead gen, double down on the conversations. You're going to all these networking events. How are you guys juggling that and yet still feeling present for the holiday season? So I think that's the biggest struggle, right? Is agents are starting to feel like they have to choose. But I think before you do a really great job with that.
I mean, for me, it definitely looks a little different. I'm not necessarily calling people to see if they want to see me over Thanksgiving. So for me, my lead generation might be actually just going on social media and commenting on some of their pictures, or, replying to a story or something like that. It starts a conversation. It's a super easy, passive way to get a conversation going, and you can talk to a lot more people too. It's has some scalability to it.
So two-way combos on social media. What else?
I mean, the holidays, it certainly magnifies the importance of it, but I think just in general, as I think about, the business that, over time has kind of evolved and I've envisioned, it's, high points of leverage within that business. And I think that, for me, whenever I sit down on a consult with a buyer or a seller, one of the first things that we talk about is, what's important to them, but then also, as we determine if we're going to be a good fit for each other, just what my schedule looks like, and setting proper expectations for them about how I run my business, how our team works, who will be a part of that transaction. And, I think that's evolved over time. I haven't always had certain people in places that allow me to have that flexibility, but as my business has grown, it has allowed me that benefit. So I think just being able to articulate that to them really well, make sure that's okay with them. Like, hey, is it okay if these are my hours? Yes. This is who's going to show you properties. This is going to help with the transaction coordination. This is what I do. Is that okay? Getting that buy-in through that part of the process, so that whenever it comes time to be able to have free time spent with your family or your friends, or just go golf, you have that flexibility to have a big business and a big life. So for me, it's leverage and boundaries and expectations there.
I love that. Michelle?
Yeah, mine is, my number one is boundaries. Number two is my mindset. So I have to set my boundaries of, this is where I'm working, this is what I'm doing today, but this is my time for family, for me. Because if my mind's not set and my mind's not right, it's not right for anybody else. So the mindset has to be set in boundaries. But I also have to have that mindset of, okay, these last, the holidays are times that I truly, truly enjoy. So did I work really hard all year? And it helps me feel better about it's okay. It's okay to take a step back and take a little bit more time off, because I did this, and this. I have to reflect on what I did in the year to know that it's okay. I worked really hard for all these, 8 or 9 months that I'm going to say, right, yeah, right. So my mindset says, take a step back from it. Break, take a breath. There's a lot of the phrases that I use in my own, like, a lot, you said you earned it. One thing for me is like, I don't have any shame about not looking at my benefit rate. If it's past a certain time or if I'm away doing something, because I know that I earned it. Like, I know, and I have to rest, or I can't go back and do it again. Like, I love Mondays, which is wild. I'm so glad I love Mondays, but someone I was just talking to them yesterday, and I'm like, I really look forward to the week, but that's because I rest. Like, and then Sunday night, I'm reflecting, which I think might be part of another question later, but and starting the week like refreshed and energized. And so I post in that accountability group, which I'm so sorry if that's annoying to anybody. I'm like, somebody commented like for the love. But I'm sorry, but I have to, because it's the one session Trent Snyder was like, they're like, what's the key to you doing so long? He's like, accountability. I was like, bam, like, why don't we do that? And I'm a single agent, so I need it too. So I do it there for anybody else who wants to plug in, and I will hold you accountable and bless you. You've done what you said you're gonna do. And with grace, of course, but I think it's just like, if you didn't earn the weekend, then you feel guilty about not answering your phone on the weekend. You feel like, oh shoot, I really should take this because I haven't done what I need to do to hit my goals. And then there's also this thing for me, it's like, when have I done enough? Which is, I think what you were talking about, Michelle, like knowing I've done what I needed to do. I can cap it here and I can rest. And that's a big for me too. So like the ambition is like, keep going. But it's like, no, you have to.
But part of the ambition is resting. So you can breathe through it.
Right. Yeah, I can't be ready to go when I need to be ready to go. So I know when it's time to take rest. But yeah, we have to remember that you're reflecting on what you did. It's not what I didn't do. I know reflect on what I did.
Yeah, I think when you're hyper intentional in your work time, and then you are hitting your goals, it is easier then to be able to turn off. But I think it almost starts with when you're intentional in your work day, and you can have peace knowing I did the contact I made. My pipeline is where it has to be. I can turn off. And like for everybody in the room, we have really programmed ourselves to think that real estate is an emergency. Like we are not delivering feeding parts. If the house is on fire, you need to call 911, not you, right? So, and I get it. Like I was that agent in the very beginning where I felt like I had to be attached to my phone. You can call them back later. You can call them back later. Sinjin.
Just the other thing I was going to add when it comes to, boundary settings is I do believe that, in real estate and what we do, there are seasons of the business, whether it's yearly or monthly. And we always talk on our team, like in spring, it's like, now remember, talk to your partner. You may be working longer days, just make sure that you have open lines of communication, because there are seasons where do I bend my boundaries? Yeah, there are, because there's times I want to get it, but I'm still setting those boundaries. And if I step outside of those boundaries, the client's going to understand that because I'm still reinforcing them. Right. So I think it's just being mindful of where you are and, give yourself a little bit of grace. And, there's a little bit of probably toxicity in me where I'm like, I just want to keep going. And yet I also have big goals, which drive me to do these things too. So it's just, reminding yourself to give yourself a little bit of grace. And when you're sitting down with clients, be real with them. I have a wife and 4 kids at home. They like it when I hang out with them. And normally they laugh like, oh yeah, I get that, because it's real. So just, be an honest person. It's amazing how responsive people are to just like a real conversation about that. Whether it's like, I need to recharge my batteries. I can't work for 24 hours a day. And people are like, you know what, that seems reasonable. So just a little addition.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Ben, anything to add?
I mean, the biggest thing that helps me and got me over the hump, I think, was 2 things. Defining my value proposition and sticking to it. And also doing a 411, finding out exactly where I want to be, what I need to do, and then just kind of trusting the process. I think a lot of times people will just look and look and look and just keep going wider and wider and wider. And they're a great communicator. All you need to do is make a few more phone calls a week. So I think practice, like define your value proposition as an agent, and then just elaborate on that, trust the process.
I love that. And that actually rolls into another question. So, we believe in education, continuing to sharpen our skills, practicing. What is a training or education event that you've attended recently that you feel has helped you in your business? And what did you implement from that training that you would like to share with the room?
Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
Well, I just finished Glover U, and I've done the Bold, I've done a lot of stuff. I think Bold is the best one. Glover U is pretty good too, but tapping into your motivation again and kind of what you want out of things. The one thing that I really like about Glover U is basically their catchphrase is kind of being a really good agent is a lot of really small things done well. You're not reinventing the wheel. You're just kind of elaborating on what you do well. And then, having better conversations. Like honestly, some of the small groups here are phenomenal too, because you get really direct, here's what I would do advice.
One of the trainings that I went to recently that was really powerful, it was put on by, it was at Members First, Becky Richardson put it on. It was with an accountant, an estate planner, and then an investor. And, when I got into it, it's funny, my wife and I just met with our accountant earlier this week. And I was like thinking about the meeting the next day. I was like, 10 years ago, I rolled up with a manila envelope and like 300 receipts. And now, through learning, like, that's not good. And I'm probably missing a lot of opportunity here to save money. I've implemented certain people in there that help me make sure I'm tracking expenses, my income, putting it into the right things. So something with that training that I had instituted before, but it reinforced that I entered into an S corp, I got an S corp under my LLC, which just gives me a little bit more flexibility in what my taxable income is. And, as real estate professionals, we have this great opportunity to be able to, capture a lot of real estate expense. So I think, whether you play quarterly or you write that big check in April, I hope it's a big check for you because that always feels good to like pay money to the government. Because you made it, you made that money. You already one, don't you? Yes. I think there's a certain responsibility that comes though whenever you are able to make a really good income for yourself. And if you can be strategic in the way that you manage the money that you're making to offset what your tax ramifications are at the end of the year, it can really be life-changing over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So that was it was kind of dry training, but it was also exciting in the sense that it's like, yeah, we're being responsible with the work that we're doing now. And another thing with the estate planning is, in real estate, we have this, responsibility whenever we meet with people that are going through death. And I'm sure they talk about gathering the documents. You've helped some sellers that had all their ducks in rows, like they just had a folder there for their family. Or you went and they had like no idea what was going on. You can see the contrast and what that's like. So just hearing that and being able to talk to my family about it and my parents and say, hey, I think we should start having some of these conversations proactively so that we're in a position where when that time comes, we can grieve and not be stressed out about everything else. So that was that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mine is, it hasn't been an in-person training, but mine is their podcast. And I'm a huge Mel Robbins fan, as Brittany knows. And so I do listen to her weekly podcast, and I usually listen to her podcast in the morning as part of the morning routine. But just something that's going to, again, mindset. What does my mindset need to be for the day, for the week, and the month? So it's always some type of learning through that.
What is your brand?
Every day.
Yeah.
Mindset is how am I going to be better than I was yesterday? Yeah, so one thing.
Yeah.
I'll do one thing better than I did yesterday.
That's good. I'm honestly trying to go blank because I feel like I have a little bit of information overload. So I'm gonna go super I guess deep instead of wide. But so for me, I think it's someone recently challenged me in a training. It was not the training itself, but a partner that I had been given through that training. And they asked me, I threw out a number of sales that I transactions that I was sending to them. And he goes, why?
And I was like, well, it's more than I did this year. You know? And he was like, you have a lot though. And I know guys, like, so if you're here, like, I know this, I meet with Brittany, I know what my why is, I know what income goal I need. But it was like, sometimes the fun of like the ambition, right? Like, it just gets you. And then it's like, but why? So really, like, one thing that I'm really leaning into right now is, what does my perfect life look like? And how do I align my goals with that? Because right now I work a great number of hours per week. And if I wanted to jump 15 sales a year, that's going to jump a good amount of hours. And then I'm going to lose time with my kids, or I'm going to lose time for myself. And I just, for me, I'm like, why are we doing it? And just like, you even have to revisit that. Because I say that as someone who knows much. And yet I'm like, oh, why don't I do 50 deals this year? And then what the heck? Like, it was such a good challenge that he was like, just tell me why. And also, like, think about part of your income and part of your wealth is your time and your sacral bloom. The 5 types of wealth, like, your time is wealth. Your freedom to exercise is wealth. The way you take care of your mind and body, those are all things that are part of your income that are not tied to your money, right? So if you have time freedom, that's part of your pay. And how do you factor that in and make your goals? So just why.
And what's happening.
Okay, I'm working that. So I came from a brokerage that didn't have any training, and then I came here and we have 1,000. And my takeaway from that, yeah, I mean, that really my takeaway is there's so much you don't really know where to start. My takeaway from training is kind of like, you're preparing yourself for your future version. And you may not go to training looking for the whole thing. It's kind of like a book. I read a half of a book, I get what I need, I get out. Sometimes training is just that. You're just looking for a few little things that will maybe not even add to your business, but just like, oh yeah, I'm not going to do that. Let me do the thing that I'm already doing better. So that's my takeaway training.
No, I love that. And actually, I'm gonna go back to something that Michelle just said. Can everybody take off the phone real quick? I want you to go on YouTube. Don't play the video, put it on sound. I want you to look at, because the content that you consume is just as important as the people you surround yourself with. So we always talk about your most like the 5 people you surround yourself with. When you go to your YouTube dashboard, what are the top 6 videos YouTube is feeding you?
Golf for sure.
I'm too sick, properly.
So that right there is the algorithm showing you, it's echoing back to you, it's your echo chamber, and it's telling you this is the content you consume. Does it align with the person that you want to be? Like, is that content that's feeding your mindset, that's teaching you how to save money on taxes, that's whatever it is your goal, is it getting you closer to your goal, or is it distracting you? I would have to guess that a lot of it is distractions. And I would if I was a betting woman, I would bet that we tell ourselves that it's helping us wind down. And that it is me time. So that was actually my coach did that exercise with me on Tuesday, and it was really eye-opening. He laughed when I told him that. He's like, yeah, that sounds like you. But so just, I thought that tied in perfectly well. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that I should have asked you? Is there something that you wish you had the opportunity to share with the room?
That was the last question that you asked me.
Yeah.
The only thing that I would just add that I hadn't done before I did join the team was, Ben had just talked about, and Taryn just mentioned about what your goals are. I think that Keller Williams uses a 5-5. What is Keller? 411. Okay.
Yeah.
So I have a VTO, which is a vision traction. I'm sorry, I don't know all that.
So we do teach VTOs to some.
Okay, cool.
But the starter pack is the 411.
The 411.
Yeah.
So they fall on the same thing.
Yeah.
But it's like a 5-year, 3-year, 1-year goal, and then you can break it down into quarterly rocks. And whenever I first started real estate, just like a lot of us say, the first buyer they call, you're like, whatever we got to do will show up. But then as time moves on and you're consistent in this business and you're digging really deep in your wells, you're blessed to have this, reality where opportunities are coming at you. And what that VTO for me has done, has given me like clear vision on what my ideal life is. And it allows me to really filter out those opportunities that could be great and could be a great marketing tool or could be a great opportunity for business or something like that. But when I'm able to go back to what I've really like bored down on is the most important thing in my life, I'm able to make a clear decision with confidence because I know what I want in the future. I'm not like making a reactionary decision or one that's just emotional. I'm like looking back at what I like planned. So I think if you don't have your goals written down, that's really powerful. And then a great tool that the leaders here do is they'll take that goal and they'll literally break it down into groups. Like this is how many calls you have to make in this year. Break it down into a month, break it down into a week, break it down into a day. This is what your conversion rate is on contacts. And then all you have to do is take that playbook and just make a commitment to yourself and have the mindset that if you want to do that goal, you have to do these activities every day. And then you'll have this amazing compound effect over time that will take you there. It's pretty amazing, truly.
Can I ask you a question? Does anybody in this room feel like what you just said was like, does that feel like this formula? Does it sound complex? Does it sound like it's something you already have a handle on? Is that, by show of hands, does anybody feel like confused by that? Do you know how to? So everybody in here knows how to figure out like their conversion rate to their contacts, like daily contacts, all that. I see some head shaking up. So I think we don't have to overcomplicate it, right? Like if you don't know your conversion rate, Brittany can give you a conversion rate to use, a standard, an industry standard, and you can go from there and figure out if it works. Like nobody's sitting up here thinking like we have it all figured out because we're all still working through all those things and those rates change too. So, but like if you don't know how many people you have to talk to per day and how many appointments you need to set per week, that is a non-negotiable in my day. That's a non-negotiable, I think, in all these, everyone sitting here today, most people in this room, I'd assume. And if you want to build a business that you don't have anxiety about, like you're like, I can count on this income, that's how you get it. So if you feel confused, Adrian and Brittany can help you break it down to where it's no longer this like elusive figure, this weird number that if you track perfectly, you get it. It's actually really simple. Like you can plug in an industry standard, figure out how many people you have to talk to, how many appointments you need, and to get to a certain number of steps. And you will have an income that you can count. And
that is like the most important thing.
Yeah.
It's just, and that's what you plug in whenever Taryn's blasting that chat.
Yes, please.
That's what you're putting where your goals are.
And look, Taryn, why do you do that on usually Sunday nights?
So I like to regroup for the week and get focused. I do like a plus minus next, like what's giving me energy, what's taking my energy, what do I do about that information? And so, and I'm also like, what was the result of this week? And so on Sunday night, I do that. So Monday I wake up and I'm already ready to lead generate and I'm ready to go. I don't have to say, what does today look like on Monday morning at 6:30? I'm ready to just go. Like, so it allows you to get ahead of things and regroup your mindset.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do mind dumping Sunday night, so whatever I know needs to be done in the week, it just mind dumps. And then I go through and categorize it, and then I go through and break it down again, so. It could start all weekend, whatever I'm thinking I need to do next week to get ready to be successful. I can look at my phone on Sunday night is mind dump everything, and then I categorize it. And then I'm still old school, I type it out of Word documents, it sits with me all.
Ours is a Google sheet, the 411. It just, if I have a spare minute and the appointment cancels, I go to my 411. It's on my list that I can help out right now. Yeah, I love that. Anybody else? Any questions from the? I took great notes up here, so if you didn't, you can take a picture really quick. One thing that I keep hearing, and I keep forgetting the M, Adrian, so I'm looking at you. We've been talking about PAM. PAM stands for prepare. So prepare the week, so you know what you're going into on Monday. A is take action. And maintenance. Update your CRM. Yes, I always forget that. If there's no other questions, just notice if you didn't check out my new KWCPA outfit today, my shirt and my flannel is on our store. You can find on the agent portal. Yes, new fall and winter gear is available. There are only 18 tickets left for the Christmas or the holiday party. The holiday party, so please secure your seats. Thank you guys for coming to our new home.
There's not much.
Bye, y'all. Thank you so much for coming.